Today we're in Frankfort, Kentucky. We're at Buffalo Trace, going to do a pick with One Stop. They're going to be picking an Eagle Rare. Really unsure if we'll get a 10 or 12 year, but pretty excited about that. So yeah, stick around and let's check this out.
Part of Virginia till 1792, and the earliest European explorers are coming into the wilderness of central Kentucky, making their way around following animal traces. Trails the animals made as they moved around through the wilderness. Biggest animals around here were the buffalo, the bison, which they made the biggest traces. And the biggest of those, the Great Buffalo Trace, followed the banks of the Kentucky River, which is right back there. The distillery itself literally sits on the riverbank. So back in the old days, the buffalo used to migrate along the opposite bank for where the distillery sits. Just below today's distillery, the river makes a sharp bend to the west as it's flowing north up to the Ohio River. And before they built the locks and dams on the river, it was a lot shallower. Right at that bend, there was kind of a sandbar, shallows. That's where the buffalo would cross the river to this side. And then that Great Buffalo Trace continued on from here towards today's Lexington and Georgetown, and stamping ground, Kentucky. So that Great Buffalo Trace, kind of the highway through the wilderness those earliest explorers were following. Now in 1775, there were two brothers, Willis and Hancock Lee. They were land surveyors out of Virginia, come out here to map out the Kentucky territory for the settlers to be following after them. The Lee brothers led an expedition along that Great Buffalo Trace, crossed over the river right down here, got to this side of the river, looked around and decided, this is a pretty nice spot. We're just gonna claim this for ourselves. So they established a little settlement here, creatively called Leestown. I kind of like it, yeah. But Leestown was established in 1775. We know that by 1786, Hancock Lee, one of those brothers, was operating a still. So count that as our birthday, 1786. And once we started distilling here, we've never stopped. There's been, if not a distillery, at least some kind of still in operation on this site ever since then, including that little hiccup in the whiskey business. You know what I'm talking about? That little 13-year bump in the road, the noble experiment, they called it at the time.
Yeah. Y'all become medicinal during that time.
During Prohibition, we were one of the few distilleries in the country that had a permit from the federal government to continue production. What a lot of people don't realize, it was never technically illegal to consume alcohol during Prohibition. The 18th Amendment that established Prohibition, really all it said around beverage alcohol was you can't buy it, you can't sell it, you can't make it, you can't move it. Didn't say a word about drinking it.
Yeah.
So if you could get it legally, you could drink it legally. Now the getting in the legal was a little bit tricky with all those other restrictions. There's only one legal way to get distilled spirits during Prohibition. Y'all know what it was? Exactly. Yes. If you were sick enough, just sick enough to convince your doctor to write that prescription, with that prescription you could get 1 pint of 100 proof bottled in bond medicinal whiskey. You go back to your doctor and get a new prescription every 10 days. So you're getting 3 pints a month during Prohibition, which is not too shabby, really. And that was just for you. That's for one person. Now, if you were sick enough for a prescription in those days, chances are really pretty good. Whatever ailment that was going to be, first of all, contagious. Right? Because one person in the family got sick, next thing you know, everybody in the whole family's coming down with it. Everybody needs their own prescription. I'm not going to share it. Second thing that illness is going to be was chronic. Because it really didn't matter how many times you went back to the doctor, you just never seemed to get any better. Basically, you were sick for about 13 years. That's how long Prohibition lasted. Because if you get well, you're plumb out of medicine, yeah. So you're kind of better off sick. A lot of people figured that out. There were over 6 million prescriptions written for medicinal whiskey during Prohibition in Kentucky. We had fewer than 2 million people living here at the time. We only have about 4.5 million people living here now, 80-something years later. I've been told we have like 3.5 bourbon barrels for every man, woman, and child in Kentucky. Hadn't gotten my 3 yet, but I don't know, maybe the 3 that you don't pick. Anyway, with all those sick people, somebody had to make the medicine, so that's what we were doing, which meant once Prohibition ended, we're sitting pretty good. Right? We got lots of medicine in the warehouses. Now it's bourbon again. Lots of cash on hand. Now the fellow running things during Prohibition was Albert Bacon Blanton, name I'm sure you're familiar with. Albert Blanton's a local boy. He grew up on a farm right across the road. Came to work here as a 16-year-old office boy back in 1897. Worked his way up to just about every job in the distillery. By the time he's in his 40s, he's running the place. So Blanton's the one that got us that medicinal license. saw us through Prohibition and then oversaw a 20-year expansion after that. So from the end of Prohibition 1933 to about 1953 is when today's distillery came together pretty much the way that you see it. Pretty much everything we see along the tour today relates in some way to that post-Prohibition growth. And in fact, the last building that Albert Blanton built was built in 1953. The next building of any significance on the property wasn't constructed till 2013. So for 60 years, practically nothing changed. Yeah, it's like we're a time capsule of a post-Prohibition distillery. That's why we were named a National Historic Landmark in 2013, in recognition of that historic preservation. And we didn't preserve all these buildings just because we got a big sense of history. And if you look around, you can tell we do. But the main reason we preserved all these buildings, we're still using them. This building's built in 1881 by E.H. Taylor Jr., originally an aging warehouse. Warehouse C right across the way there, built in 1885. That's the oldest building on the property, still being used for what it was built for. We've been aging bourbon barrels in that warehouse since it was built in 1885. Not the same ones, but that's how long we've been using it. So we're in another big bourbon boom. I don't know if y'all know this down there in Tennessee or not. Bourbon's gotten kind of popular here lately. Yeah, you do know, crazy popular. If we're talking about lately, I've been here almost 13 years. Demand for bourbon has been growing year over year over year over year, pretty much that entire time, especially for our products, has really not shown much sign of slowing down. So we've had to grow to keep up with things. We started out about 10, 11 years ago. We bought a 280-acre farm up on a ridge behind the distillery, using that for new aging warehouses. We got 19 of them up there, finished in full. Each one holds nearly 60,000 barrels, and that's not enough. We couldn't get more property locally, so we bought an old industrial park about 100 miles south of here in Laurel County, London, Kentucky. We're going to build about 20 more down there, same size. Well, the oldest one, like I said, the oldest one still being used is that one, but we've got a couple from the 1881, 1883 time period. So actually this one is one of the oldest ones. Mm-hmm. Well, they're not being used. The only one that's still being used is the 1885 Warehouse C right across the street. Yeah. So we built the new warehouses. We building them down in London. Once we got a couple of them going, we could really look at expanding production. So we built a new bottling hall down here at the foot of the parking lot to replace the one that Albert Blanton built in 1940, new high-speed bottling plant. Put in new cookers, new fermenters, new stills. We'll see all that along the tour. Sazerac has invested $1.3 billion in expansion over the last 10, 11 years. So the goal is to double our production. So if y'all been wondering, or your customers have been wondering, is Buffalo Trace ever going to make any more of whatever it is you're looking for? The answer is yes, eventually. Because what we try to help people understand, bourbon's an aged product. $1 billion still can't buy time. Can't make a 10-year-old bourbon in less than 10 years. And so, Buffalo Trace, about 8 years old. So you're beginning to see, because we started about 10 years ago, you're beginning to see more of some of those core products, those 6, 7, 8-year-old products out on the shelf, but demand continued to grow. And so that's why there's still allocations. That's why our products are still hard to find. We're not hoarding it. We're not keeping it back. It's just not there. It's not ready. Yeah, and so it takes time to mature. So that's part of what we try to help people understand when they come to visit us. It's just not there. Well, the oldest product that we regularly produce is the 23-year-old Pappy Van Winkle. But we may have some barrels older than that we're doing some special things with. Yeah, yeah, okay, all right. So other questions? All right. Well, I know y'all have contributed to that growth over the years, so I just want to let you know we appreciate it. All right, we really do. But now, we do have one small favor. Please don't stop. Okay. We got to keep this thing rolling. So, speaking of not stopping, y'all ready to go out and walk around a little bit? All right. About 140 acres down here along the river. The farm, that ridge that runs all along behind there, that's where those new aging warehouses are. You might have seen them as you were driving in. You can't see them very well from down here. We got over 100 buildings just down here on this part of the distillery. 16 of those are aging warehouses. But what I thought we'd do first is visit our Blanton's bottling hall to see where we bottle all the Blantons in the world, and it's all done by hand. So right here. Yeah. So we'll stop in if we can avoid getting run over by the electricians. So this again is the Blanton's bottling hall. All of the Blantons in the world is bottled here, domestic, international, export, and as you can see, it's all done by hand. So Blanton's a single barrel bourbon. They roll the barrels in across the back there. They drill out the bung, dump it, process. He's got to come back up here. Excuse me. Sir. You got to stay back here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can see the copper dump trough right down the middle there. The drill hanging down. They drill out the bung, take a little sample over to the hydrometer, check the proof out of the barrel, calculate how much water to add to bring it down to the 93 proof, 103 proof for gold, whatever it might be. Process it. After processing, goes up to the tank farm up there. Copper container, each big enough to hold 1 barrel of bourbon. Then it gets distributed out to the bottling lines. The rest of it's done by hand. So they fill up 8 bottles at a time, hand apply the stoppers, drive them home, seal them up with wax. You don't know if you can see that bottle that's spinning around there on the turntable.
I was in the process of getting that when I got interrupted.
So the pipe's coming in, they hit a green button, shoots that hot wax on there, seals up the bottle. Now I also noticed those paper collars on there. Well, that's because unlike some of those other bourbons that use wax, we don't get it all over the place. See, we keep it neat and tidy. So they clean it up, then they hand apply the labels, run the paper label through a glue pot, put a label around the belly, another one around the neck of the bottle. They have to align it just right with the stopper, put them in the packaging, make a case, make a pallet, take it over to the distribution center, send it out wherever in the world it's going. So we got.
What's the reasoning behind some having bags and boxes and the others?
Well, you know about the stoppers, right? Yes. With the letters. Well, when Blanton's originally came out, there was just a horse. And it wasn't, the letters weren't there or anything like that. It all was in the pouch in the box, the gift box. Well, somebody in marketing somewhere along the line, mid-'80s, came up with the idea, well, we'll make a collector's item out of that. We'll make that horse race. Well, everything was still in the box. Well, at the store, people were coming in and they were looking for that next letter. So they were going in and they were opening all the boxes trying to find the letter they were looking for. So as a help out to the retailers, today, 6 in a case, 3 get the box and the pouch, 3 just get the plastic mesh, protect the label during shipping. So that's why we do it
Glad
that
you
way.
asked that question because I wondered that.
Yeah. Out in here, they go out the side door, get loaded up on a truck and shipped off to wherever they're going. Not all those barrels will hold together enough to be shipped off someplace else. So if they got a loose hoop or something like that, we'll break them down out here. You can see we'll make a pallet out of the staves, another one out of the heads. Then these go over to our whiskey woodcraft operation. We've got 2 wood shops, one small kind of demonstration shop here, and then another one, big shop with big machines up on the hill off campus. And we got 4 skilled woodworkers, and all the barrel stuff that you see for sale in the gift shop and on the Whiskey Woodcraft website is all crafted here by hand with our woodworkers. No, we will sell individual staves in the gift shop, yeah. That's probably where they dumped the char. After they finish a batch, they scoop out that char that, about 5 to 10% of the bourbon that goes into the barrel gets absorbed into the wood and the char. And so when they dump it out, that char carries a lot of that, especially since we're also pouring the bourbon over it in that dump trough. So after the batch is done, they just scoop it into drums and then they dump those drums in here. So. Yeah, it really does. That smell you're getting right now, that's coming from our dry house. So you'll see the still in a little bit. The beer still, we take the fermented beer out of the fermenters, run it through there, separate out the alcohol, all the solids and most of the liquid comes out the bottom. The old timers called it slop. Well, now we call it spent beer. But anyway, what we do with that, most of the liquid we separate out, we use that as the back set to create the sour mash. The thick stuff goes to these big tanks over here, then gets pumped in one of our 2 dry houses. Short version, we run it through gigantic tumble dryers and dry it into an animal feed product that we're selling to farmers and feed companies. And it's big business. I've been told that we make enough money off of this to pay everybody's salary here at the distillery.
Isn't that awesome?
It's not the booze, it's the byproduct.
Isn't that
That's
awesome?
how valuable that is. Hadn't been used for anything for years. When we built that new still, we needed a new dry house. We got to find a place to put it. We got this old building sitting here, hadn't been used for anything for years. Why don't we just knock it down, build a brand new state-of-the-art 21st century dry house in that spot? But we don't do it that way. What we did instead, we went around with big posts, propped up the walls on all four sides, took off the roof, took out all the windows, cut this big hole in the side of it, went in with an excavator and took out all the old wooden ricks in there. While its shell is standing open, we built a brand new state-of-the-art 21st century dry house in the shell of a 19th century aging warehouse. Then we put it all back together to look like it hadn't been moved. So we're drawing a couple million gallons out of the Kentucky River a day for cooling. So we run around whatever's hot, like the cookers or whatever. Take the hot water, run it through here. We got two more over there. As it flows through the fins, there's big fans on top. That water cools down enough that then we can recirculate it and reuse it, or send it over to our new multi-million-dollar water treatment facility, treat it, put it back in the river, cleaner than we got it.
Gotcha.
Then on this side is the dry house from 1941. Come over here a second. So you can see the four dryers. In the new house, we just got two. They're more than twice the size of any one of these. Right, and you can see it coming out of the trough there, dropping from one to the next. A lot of times there'll be a spill and I can pick it up and show it to you, but we don't have any around right now. This is where we're drying the spent grains to make that animal feed product.
I was thinking like back in the 200 years ago when it started, we didn't even have technology like this.
No. Prior to Prohibition, well, E.H. Taylor brought a lot of for the day, a lot of modernization and automation, steam power after the Civil War. But all of this was after Prohibition.
Okay.
Yeah. You're just determined to stay right in front of me. Blanton's about between 1936 about 1940. So you can see this is where the grains come in. So the truck's back in, open up the hopper, the grains flow through a grate, conveyor carries them over, stores them in one of the silos. We got 8 silos, 6 big ones, 2 smaller ones. The big ones are about 6,000 bushels each. The smaller ones maybe about half that. Altogether, all 8 of those silos give us maybe 1 day's grain reserve. We're going through 18 to 20 truckloads just of corn every single day. So you can see we got a truck dumping, we got one lined up, we got another one behind that. Most of the corn is coming from Kentucky and southern Indiana, so it's mostly local. We've been working with the same growers for years. So as the rising tide is oh yeah. Several years ago, when this thing was still just kind of getting started, I gave a tour to one of our leading corn farmers, and he was telling me how many more bushels he was producing, how many acres he had to lease and things like that. I couldn't make sense of it, but it was a lot. So after we store it temporarily in the silos, it gets drawn up to the mill. The hammer mill grinds it into a meal, comes over here to the mash house where we cook it down into mash. We got 4 mash cookers, each 20,000 gallons. We use pressure cookers, have for years. Cook under pressure and kind of speed things up, kind of like an Instant Pot. Yeah, our Instant Pots are 20,000 gallons each. So we cook 20,000 gallons of mash in about an hour. So the cornmeal goes in first with water. We heat it up to about 240 degrees, 15 PSI, cook the corn by itself. 20 minutes or so, run it through a flash cooling system. As it cools down, we're bringing in the small grains, the rye, the barley that have been prepared separately. Once the starch conversion has happened, starch is going over to sugar, then we cool it down about 70 degrees, pump it through pipes on this bridge to go to one of our 32 fermenters. So it's about an hour per cook. You'll see our fermenters, it takes 4 cooks to fill one fermenter. One fermenter is going to yield approximately 200 barrels of distillate, and we're filling 2,000 barrels a day. So we have to have 10 or 11 or more of these fermenters ready to go through every rolling 24-hour period. So this is a 24-hour operation back here. So we're going to go in through the door, we're going to go up beside these, wind up on the bridge, and then go over and see the fermenters. So that's our last major expansion in 1936. So that shows the fermenting house being built. Those big concrete pads you see there's those big footers, those are the first 4 fermenters. That wall you see just beginning is the wall you're looking at through these windows right here. A little bit of yeast first. Of course, this volume, a little bit of water is about 1,500 gallons. A little bit of yeast is 66 pounds. So those little packets of bread you used to at the store, yeah, one at a time. No. Our yeast comes in 22-pound boxes. Same yeast strain we've been using for 90 years. 3 of those boxes go in with the water. We fill it up mostly with sweet mash from the cookers, some of the back set to create the sour mash. We're going to let it sit and ferment 3 to 5 days, about 4 days on average. During that time, the yeast is consuming the sugar, creating CO2 and alcohol. The carbon dioxide gets vented out. 3 or 4 days later, it's going to be about 8 to 10% alcohol in the distiller's beer. So actually, we're making beer, just not drinking beer. It's distiller's beer. Really sour, got all the grain solids in it, but that's what it's called. That's what then gets distilled into the white dog. So we'll walk around, take a look at a couple of these fermenters. Because we got 12 here, 12 next door, 8 more outdoors, we're doing emptying 10 of them a day. They're all going to be roughly the same stage of fermentation. So at this point with these, there's not going to be a lot of activity that we can see. But everything, if you do see any bubbling or swirling, it's just yeast. There's nothing but great big buckets. So there's no agitation, aeration, anything. If you see any action, it's just yeast eating sugar, releasing CO2 and alcohol. And also remember, you're only seeing about the top 4 feet. They go 2 floors down below. That's how big 92,000 gallons is. So come on around here. This is essentially ready for the still. So the fermentation is almost stopped. There's still a few bubbles here and there. The big clue, besides the aroma, got that sour smell, that red stuff floating on top. That's corn oil. The oils tend to stay in solution as it's fermenting, which gets broken down in the cooking process. When it's fermenting slows down, it rises to the top. This used to be the yeast room. So back in the day when we were growing our own yeast, this is where we did it. There were 12 fermenters, there are 12 yeast tubs. So you grow the yeast for fermenter number 1 and yeast tub number 1. We figured out a long time ago we're a whole lot better at making bourbon than yeast. So we don't do that anymore. Now, this is our experimental micro distillery. We converted a couple of these old yeast tubs into small combination cooker fermenters. So a lot of times you come in here and over in our high-tech security area over there, there'll be bags of milled grains under a tarp, different from what we normally use. We can put those grains in here with water. There are coils inside. We run steam through the coils and cook it, run river water through there to cool it, add the yeast and ferment it, all right here in this one tank. And then distill it on our little experimental still over here. So, I'm sorry?
What product do you want to?
Most of the time, well, if it's an experiment, it's in one of the experimental collections.
Oh.
Or it could be, well, we did the E.H. Taylor 4 grain, started out here as an experiment. This is the still house that, got a couple more coming in here. Albert Blanton built this, part of that big expansion starting in '36. Now the stills in here are a little bit newer. These are not the original stills. They date to the early 1950s. But this is the beer still. There we go. Biggest still of its kind in the industry. 60,000 gallon capacity, 7 feet around, about 35 feet tall. Inside are 15 metal plates with holes in them. So the beer, after fermentation, goes out to the beer well, a big tank outside. That then feeds the still. Beer comes in near the top. It flows by gravity through the holes in the plates. Steam comes up from the bottom. When the steam contacts the beer, it vaporizes the alcohol. So the alcohol vapors go up, the slop goes down, all that stuff gets dried into the animal feed. The vapors, alcohol vapors, go through a condenser, cools them down, condenses them, concentrates them, comes out here as low wine, bringing it up from the 8 to 10% alcohol in the beer to maybe now 50 or 60% between that. That then goes down to the doubler, a big 13,000 gallon kettle still on the first floor. Heat that solution up, leave more of the water and the impurities behind. Those vapors go up to another condenser, come out here as high wine. For us, it's going to be coming off from mash bill 1 and 2 and rye whiskey. It's coming off about 140 proof. For the wheated recipe, it's coming off about 130, 135. Then that gets pumped ultimately over to the cistern room. We proof it down to 125 or 114, depending on the mash bill, for entry into the barrel. So this is the biggest still of its kind in the industry, except for its identical twin next door that we built in 2022. Today you'll see this still isn't running, the other one is. So we can run them both. Most of the time now we're able to run one about 8 hours, shift the flow, run the other one, and that gives us enough production. So we'll go over and take a look at that new one. So a couple of things where you see the steam rising here under this roof, there are 2 troughs, one connected each of the stills. The slop, the stillage comes out the bottom of the still, runs through that trough. The thick part with most of the solids drops into one tank. The thin part goes over into the other. The thin we cool down, we set it back. It's called setback. That creates the sour mash. The thick part with all the solids goes over to the dry house to be dried into animal feed. That's wonderful smell you get of that stillage. I grew up here in Frankfort, over on the other side of the river, up on a ridge over there, and particularly in cool fall days, that smell would just kind of fill up the whole river valley. So anybody that grew up in Frankfurt, you know, you go away to school or something like that, you come back, smells like home. Yeah. Only now after working here for a few years,
You're blind to it.
smells like money. Not blind to it, not at all.
You don't get nose blind to it?
Nope, not at all. No, none of them. None of the
I
smell.
used to work at a paper mill, and their aeration ponds stunk so
Yeah,
bad.
I know.
And I don't think I ever got nose blind to that either.
No.
But I
you
told people
don't.
it smelled like money.
Yeah. But this is the beer well. So the beer gets pumped from the fermenter into here. This feeds the still. So it's kind of like a buffer. We fill it up, start running through the still, draw down the volume. The next fermenter goes in, draw it back up, keep filling. And that way we can run those stills continuously, 24 hours a day. It is open on the top. People ask all the time, what happens if it rains?
Yeah.
Do you get water in it? It's going through the still. Really doesn't matter. We get 8 inches of rain, we have an historic flood. We have 8 inches sitting on top of about 110,000 gallons going through the still. It really doesn't matter. What about if birds fly over and drop their feathers in it?
Or more.
Well, y'all are getting Eagle Rare. Right? No, it's going through the still. It's not going to hurt anything. Now, the official answer is, used to be, until we built this new still house, unless I brought a group out here and showed them this, I didn't have to worry about explaining it. Well, we built this new still house. It's got these big windows right here. So before we started taking tours through here, Harlan Wheatley, our master distiller, was taking groups of tour guides to explain the new still house, things like that. We get to that window. I say, now, Harlan, I've been doing this a while. People are going to ask, they're going to see that beer well, they're going to ask, why is it open like that? Now, no, what I've been telling them, I want to get the official answer. Why is the beer well open like that? And Harlan thought about it a minute and he said, well, it always has been. There's your answer.
Okay.
Blanton built after Prohibition, built about 1934. It's the only metal-clad warehouse in Blanton built it. Supposedly, the metal transmits those temperature changes more aggressively. Apparently, did do that. All the rest is brick and block, but it did produce a unique flavor. It's always Albert Blanton's favorite. This is where you come to get his barrels from all these giveaways and family, whoever he needed to. But when Elmer T. Lee created Blanton's very first commercially available single barrel bourbon, he's named it after Albert Blanton. Warehouse, favorite spot in the warehouse to get those barrels. Every label, and that's why we like to do our single barrel selection. Home of the single barrel.
That's so good.
This is
Come
one.
on in, folks.
This is one of the best smells, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yours is going to be down here. So the whole setup is yours here. It's just these are your barrels down here. So we have selected 4 barrels. They've already been through our tasting panel to be approved to be Eagle Rare. They've gone through another cut to make sure that they is to sample through each of these 4, make whatever notes you want to make on the notepad there about flavor notes, aroma notes, things like that. Whatever process you experience, barrel pickers want to use. I'll turn that over to you because you've got a process you like to use. But again, the ultimate thing is to narrow it down to one of these barrels that then will be bottled and shipped. So, questions about anything? All right. We all got some work to do.
All right. Between what?
D is the least
I'm curious.
sweet.
It just depends on what profile you want.
And it's got the probably the best finish
You-
for somebody that likes
If you want,
heavier bourbon. Yeah.
if you want something that tastes or sips a little bit more proofy, has a longer finish, I think D. But if you want something that's sweeter and nuttier, I'm thinking you're on A or B. And I don't know what profile you want for the store.
I think for the masses, because D has I think D has the best nose hands down.
Yes.
It has, and a lot of people nowadays in bourbon are sniffers. They sniff as they drink. I do. I sniff before every taste. So D's probably going to be, in my humble opinion, your best bet for sales. I mean, it's just mine for us.
I mean, if I was picking one for me, it would be B.
D.
Yeah.
Now,
That's
That's where I'm at. I'll
yeah.
say that's my
Yeah,
number
probably
Yeah.
me too, but D I think
Just
would
because,
appeal
I mean,
more
it's-
to your customer base.
Because you get the proof, but then it's got a long finish. It stays with you for a
It
while.
has the longest finish, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, straight out of her for the wood with me. But
None of them were shabby. Like, I was hoping I could rule one out immediately. I ruled C out pretty quick, but it took me a minute. I wanted to be fair to it, but I feel like that was a good selection.
you'd be
Yeah,
a
here's one.
I done
B with
A.
One of the guys,
And
Like
she
the same
could be-
thing
I'm
for
at B.
like-
well,
No.
she's trying to pick,
Letter
three
A.
super
That was
long
my
to kick out of
thing.
bed.
Right out.
Hey, Brad.
It's all good. Yeah, it's
She's
all
a B
good.
too. I mean, B was
Not a
my
loser.
second pick.
I'm at
Delta
B.
and B.
And I don't like roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, she don't.
My palate for bourbon is very nice. I'm at B.
Yeah, if I was picking for me, it would be
B because I like nuttier profiles in
Yep.
whiskey.
Yeah, B was
And
my
the
second.
finish on B
So,
is nutty for
B or
days.
Yep.
C, you're-
It's got
B or
a
B, you're
nice
not gonna
finish,
go
and it's got a
wrong.
nice sweet, which I feel like hits a lot of categories for me.
I would say this, if you're a game with it,
I
blind us on B and D.
Yeah.
Just let us step out and we'll come back on B and D.
I think it would be.
And I'm on the right too.
I'll put money on that.
You think the right's B?
I do.
I think the right's D.
I could be wrong. I mean, I could be.
Well, no, I'm.
What-
I think the right is better.
How many people are picking?
Just pick
I'm
pick which one you like.
on the right.
How many people are picking left? Count that.
1, 2, 3.
Left or right?
Okay, how many people are picking
I
right?
ain't tried the right one yet.
Oh, okay.
We gotta let him catch up.
Take
He
your
really
time.
likes
Take
that
your
left
time.
one.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so how many people left?
Jeez, man.
We had
How
3 on
many
the
people
left,
Really getting left.
All right.
Left.
How
Still
many-
tied.
How many people
and then
right?
right.
Right.
You're the tiebreaker, left or right?
Oh boy.
Oh, boy, he said.
That's torn, and I bet we're just as
Which
torn
one do you
equally.
like better?
She knows which one is which.
No, not now.
Y'all two try them and see which one y'all think. You can't go wrong with either one of them.
That's
Both of them are great.
Yeah, you.
And that's why it's really
Yeah.
comes down to you. What you like. What's your store?
What do you think?
It's like
Oh, what you try?
not much. I don't know how you say it, but
Are you talking about like the ethanol or like the proof?
yeah.
Yeah. Which one?
You're saying it doesn't have as much. It doesn't seem
I'm
as
still on
because they're
right.
both 90 proof, but some
Yeah,
drinks more
yeah.
ethanol for it. I get it. So you think right drinks what they would say smoother?
It is.
Or is it more
It
proof?
is a smooth.
Okay. You think the left is a little proofier?
Left has got
More
flavor.
flavor or ethanol? Flavor.
Flavor.
It's
Flavor.
probably the
Okay.
last pick
I don't know if it's-
everybody, all 8, same one.
Some.
I'll be honest with you. I feel like your palate is probably well more refined than mine. I grew up eating cheeseburgers and chicken fingers like you guys
I'm wrong
eat
with that.
all these different spices and things, right?
Yeah.
My white people don't eat that, right? We put salt on our food. So my palate is not anywhere nearly as refined as yours when it comes to understanding flavor. So don't second guess yourself. What you're tasting is what you're tasting.
The one that you finally decide on.
We can try it out of the barrel.
Yes. Once it's picked.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
But do me a favor. Try the right one and then just wait and wait and wait and then tell me what you get, like what we call the finish. That's one characteristic to put in. That's one box
He's right,
to check.
it finishes, it's got a long finish.
I agree with him. The left one comes on with more flavor.
It does.
This one comes on a little bit more watered down, and like the flavor has to catch up on the backside.
Mm-hmm.
That is considerable.
At least it was the left too.
And you're left so far
Yeah,
because of that immediate flavor.
Which one is left, Lee? Which one is
The left one is going to be Delta.
I think it's big.
I think the left one, if you guys okay, I'll go with the left.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which one was left?
Left was
Thank you.
Delta, really? That was the one I originally picked, man. That's,
So there-
man,
The
Wayne,
only-
you were right.
The only reason that I'm leaning to the right one is because that finish is so good.
I just
And for me, the finish is what I remember. But it doesn't have a lot of flavor up front. Which when people first sip it, they might be a little disappointed. But if they like finish, you can't go wrong.
But
The
sometimes
best thing is if he buy both barrels and he put them together for you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we
And-
All right, guys. This is what we're getting.
Alright,
Yeah!
alright.
Good
Round of
job.
applause!
They'll enjoy that.
We did it!
Awesome.
all right. Come.
All right, let's do
Right.
So we're gonna get this barrel, right? All right.
All right.
I need to go to get my Florida head out.
Bit of water to get it.
Oh yeah,
to
I mean when you consider 5 to 10%
Look up, babe.
absorption, average 4%.
You gotta get that for the shield.
So should I?
Big! Do it big like John Hancock, baby.
That's
Own it.
right. Take up the whole barrel here.
You own that one.
Right.
We gotta frame that for the store.
Well, I was let
Here, because anything that I spill on the barrel won't be showing up in the bottle, so gotta be a little careful with it. There we go.
Come on.
Coming in hot.
All right, Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, straight out of the cask. I've never had it like that. I know I like the flavor of Eagle Rare. I don't drink it. I don't buy it because I don't appreciate it at 90 proof. But this will be a first for me. So let's see what we think about it. It's really good. Wow. Guys, that's really good. If there's any way that we could talk Buffalo Trace into doing a cask strength a cask strength Eagle Rare. Now don't get me wrong, it's not blowing you away. It's not E.H. Taylor barrel proof, it's not GTS, but it's much better than Eagle Rare straight out of the bottle. Beautiful nose on it. Lots of caramel, oak. It's really nutty on the profile. Like, man, shame on you, Buffalo Trace. I get it, but sure would like to have this closer to cask strength. So they're saying 125 is what it enters. It comes out 126 to 129. Man, if we could just get these at like 110, 115, whew, would that be nice? Cheers.